The world woke up to what experts are calling the greatest privacy violation in American history, but not in the way you imagine. On January 30th, 3.5 million secret pages were dumped online, over 180,000 images, 2,000 videos. The case everyone thought was buried with Jeffrey Epstein in 2019 exploded again. And this time, no one is safe. But here's the problem. While the government promised total transparency, lawyers representing over 200 victims are desperate for the files to be removed from the internet. Yes, you heard that right. The victims themselves want the documents to disappear. What the hell is going on? Stay until the end, because this story has layers that will make you question absolutely everything about power, justice, and truth. To understand the chaos of January 2026, we need to go back a few months. In November 2025, something unprecedented happened. Republicans and Democrats, yes, you read that right, both sides, united to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act. President Trump, who during the 2024 campaign promised to release everything about Epstein, signed the law. The promise was simple: 30 days to release all documents related to the case. No exceptions, no redactions for political embarrassment. It seemed like a victory for transparency. Polls showed that 91% of Democrats, 78% of independents, and 74% of Republicans supported the release. The popular pressure was immense. But when December came, the government failed. Excuses, delays, completely censored pages. And then, on January 30th, 2026, came the deluge. Over 500 Department of Justice lawyers worked on this. They promised care. They promised to protect the victims. But what happened was, well, a historic disaster. Imagine waking up and discovering that your identity as a victim of sexual abuse, which you kept secret for decades, is now public, available to anyone with an internet connection. This happened to at least 43 victims. Full names exposed, some appearing more than 100 times in the documents, home addresses, personal banking information. One woman had 51 entries with her private banking details released. She received death threats, but it gets worse. The New York Times found dozens of uncensored photos of naked young women with visible faces, photos that should have been protected according to the law itself. The Department of Justice website now requires you to confirm you're over 18 to access, because there is pornography in official government files. Victims' lawyers called this the most serious violation of victim privacy in a single day in United States history. They asked federal judges to order the immediate removal of the site. One survivor, Danielle Bensky, said something that cuts like a knife. At first I thought it was carelessness, then incompetence. Now it seems deliberate. It feels like an attack on survivors. But what is in these 3.5 million pages that caused so much chaos? Brace yourself, because it's disturbing. Global networks. The files show emails between Epstein and model scouts, pilots, personal chefs, a massive operational network. There's correspondence with Poland showing Epstein offering to pay for apartments and college education for young women. One wrote, "Thank you for the amazing time on the island." Powerful figures. Flight logs reveal who flew on Epstein's private jet. Politicians, tech billionaires, members of royalty. A 2009 email mentions Bill Clinton and Jeff Bezos at a party at Ghislaine Maxwell's house, Epstein's accomplice, who is serving 20 years in prison. There's mention of Steve Bannon, Trump's former strategist, who filmed hours of interviews with Epstein, planning a documentary to rehabilitate his image. Epstein wrote in 2019, "Trump knew about the girls, but didn't explain what that means." The will. 2 days before his suspicious death in 2019, Epstein updated his will for the last time. He planned to distribute his fortune of nearly $600 million to 44 people. Who are these people? Many names remain. You guessed it. Redacted. Bizarre plans. A 2011 email shows Epstein planning to use British and Israeli intelligence to seize $80 billion in frozen Libyan assets in exchange for a 10 to 25% fee. Here's where the story becomes truly disturbing. The Department of Justice exposed the faces and names of victims, but protected the names of possible accomplices. A highly anticipated draft indictment from the 2000s, which would have charged Epstein and 3 other individuals who worked for him, had those names completely censored. Emails reveal suspicious conversations. A redacted sender wrote to Epstein in 2014. "Thanks for the fun evening. Your youngest girl was a bit wild." Who sent this? Redacted. Another email from 2015. And this one is, I think, totally your girl. Who sent it? Redacted. Victim statements to the FBI, 7 pages, appear almost completely blocked. One survivor asked, if there are no men involved, if there's no list, why redact all of this? Representative Jamie Raskin, after reviewing unredacted files, said he saw tons of completely unnecessary redactions and names of many people redacted for mysterious or puzzling reasons. The official claim: the Department of Justice says it only redacted names of female victims. But victims and Congress people aren't buying that explanation. The shockwaves crossed borders. In Slovakia, the National Security Advisor resigned on January 31st after the documents linked his name to the case. King Charles III of England declared he was ready to support the police in investigating allegations that his brother Prince Andrew, now called Andrew Mountbatten Windsor after being stripped of royal titles, shared confidential information with Epstein. Several countries announced investigations after revelations showed that their citizens may have been victimized by Epstein or his associates. In New York, protests erupted outside Mayor Zoran Mamdani's residence after the files revealed that his mother had been in contact with Ghislaine Maxwell in 2009. Protesters shouted "shame" while AI-generated images of Mamdani with Epstein circulated online. And Ghislaine Maxwell? She refused to answer questions before the House of Representatives, invoking the Fifth Amendment, but signaled she might testify in exchange for clemency. So, where does this leave us? January 2026 polls show that only 6% of Americans are satisfied with what was released. 56% disapprove of the Trump administration's handling of the files. And nearly half of Americans, 49%, believe Trump is trying to cover up Epstein's crimes. Trump himself claimed that the final release exonerates him of any wrongdoing, despite his name appearing more than 1 million times in the files. The Department of Justice claims to have fulfilled its legal obligations, but Congresspeople like Ro Khanna insist there are more than 6 million potentially relevant pages, and only half have been released. Here's the uncomfortable truth. We're in 2026, 7 years after Epstein's death, and the more transparency we get, the more confusing everything becomes. Victims are exposed, while possible accomplices are protected. Promises of justice turn into privacy violations, and the most important questions remain unanswered. Who was really involved? Why do so many powerful names remain protected? And most disturbing, if this is transparency, what exactly is being hidden? The Epstein case isn't dead. It's more alive and more complicated than ever. If you want to understand what really happens when power, money, and secrets meet, you need to follow this story. Leave your comment. Do you think the files were purposely mishandled? Or is it really incompetence? And don't forget, the truth rarely comes clean. Sometimes it arrives covered in redactions, contradictions, and more questions than answers.